Chapter 1, Howling at the Wolf Moon in Idaho. So, you're telling me that just because I am controversial on Twitter, okay, I know the attorney for the state of the Department of Oregon's Department of Health and Human Services says I threatened his life on Twitter, but I really didn't. Okay, so I guess there was a picture and some kind of reference and a, target gun thing. Okay, I get it. But you're saying because I have my own YouTube channel, was featured on the Dr. Phil show 3 times about this topic, and threatened to sue everyone, that they can just take my kids away and keep them just because they can, without any current evidence of child abuse? I buried my head in my hands, shaking my head side to side. No, no, no. And the attorney advising me that day, in response to my question, said, "Yes, Minny. Yes, Minny. Yes." I'm not sure I can travel the same road she traveled, I say to myself these days. But at the same time, it is too late. I already have. I look in the mirror and I see her face a week before she died. And I said, "Mommy, why are your eyes so yellow?" And she didn't give a response. She just sighed. For a moment, we both sat in silence, sat in the knowing, without saying anything at all. I was left curious, but somehow I knew that it meant that she was sick, that she was dying, and it would be soon. I walked home from her house that night, afraid and lost, wondering if there was anything I could have done, but I knew there was not. I understood this day would come, the day when I would lose her, but what I didn't quite know was that a little over a decade later, I would then be sure to follow. Leaving Eugene, there was a sense of freedom that I hadn't felt in a very long time. I was leaving Eugene with 3 children, ages 11, 6, and 2, driving nearly 3,000 miles in the dead of winter across the country all by myself during January's wolf moon. I felt a sense of freedom that I hadn't felt in a very long time. It was as if I had been slowly strangled around the neck for the last 4 years, and the further and further I got away from Eugene, I began removing one noose at a time from around my neck, mentally speaking, that is. But I had been suffocating and dying a slow death since they took my children away 4 years ago. But now, leaving Eugene and headed to my birthplace of Maryland, I felt as if the further I drove away from Eugene, the more unraveling of the noose there was, as it loosened with each mile. I rolled down the window and looked up at the wolf moon, and I could breathe a little more, the closer and closer we got to Maryland. I had no idea how little I could breathe before until now. Freedom at once. Freedom. Finally. So when I looked up into the sky when we reached Idaho, I saw the wolf's moon in all its splendor, and I took this as a sign. The wolf's moon has a spiritual meaning of transformation, change, new beginnings, and introspection. I told the children to look at the moon and howl like a wolf, and I explained to them this is how the wolf's moon gained its name in the first place, because during the wolf moon phase, more wolves are said to be heard howling at the moon than any other time of the year. They thought it would be a fun exercise, and entertained the idea, probably because they were all bored from the long road trip, but we gave it a go. And as we howled like wolves, I no longer felt the noose around my neck. I could breathe. For once in 4 years, we were all free. And so we continued to howl like wolves straight into Idaho. But there was one we left behind. It is the things they don't tell you when they take your children away that will scar you and your children for life. It is all the little things that are actually pretty profound, big things that can shape lives forever. The state came into my life gung-ho to rescue children that frankly did not need rescuing. The state came in and gave my children to a child molester and a rapist. I had to fight skin, tooth, and nail to get my children back, yet still, there's the one we left behind. And I wish so hard that I could hear that additional howling at the wolf moon behind my seat, but there was definitely one of my babies missing from the pack. So although I could breathe again, the noose around my neck thrown out the window, speeding towards Idaho, I could not escape. I could not escape the overwhelming feeling of choking on my own chaotic emotions and guilt. As we rolled into Idaho to stop for the night and check into a hotel, I knew that I was about to break every single rule. I knew that I was about to do every single thing the state said I couldn't do for the last 4 years. I wanted to rebel, howl at the wolf moon until my throat hurt, get the fuck out of Eugene and never look back. I wanted to tell myself that the child I left behind would be okay without me. But now here I am, 5 years later, back in Eugene, but potentially leaving again. Except this time, it's not a road trip. It's potentially my death.